Okay, welcome back, you guys. Just going to recap. We went over the cartels in Mexico and some of their I was gonna say upsides and downsides, but I don't really know if they have any upsides. All right, moving on to methods of transportation. Um, now, okay, going over. We're gonna Jesus. They're going to use land as their main mode of transportation to smuggle drugs. They're going to use trains, cars, and trucks with secret departments. I recommend watching a YouTube video on how they're able to smuggle these drugs in. It is truly phenomenal. The ideas that they can come up with to put drugs in sometimes plain sight, sometimes in these amazing hiding departments. It is truly remarkable. Um, and you got to give it to them when they're crafty, right? They're also going to use underground tunnels at the U.S. Mexico border. We'll go into that a little more later. Air, using planes. Talk about that a little more in the next slide. Sea, they're going to use fishing boats, submarines, and private and commercial vessels. Here on the upper right-hand corner is a narco submarine. Currently, this one's probably not the best one that they've had because it's getting literally caught in the moment. But think about it. If you're looking at the ocean, you're trying to see these little submarines, it's going to be very hard. They're only at the surface or above the surface by a few feet. And look, they're camouflaged. If unless you know exactly where to look, it is going to be hard to find them. While submarines are not going to be their most common method, um, it is going to be something that is quite effective. All right, moving on to land, air, and sea. Land is going to be the most common way of drug trafficking. Um, while using planes for drug trafficking is becoming much, much less common, the foot method is going to be so much better. Or excuse me, the land method. You can have couriers on foot go up through the border. Some of those are going to be caught. Some of them aren't going to be caught. It's a gamble. Um, Again, they're going to use all-terrain vehicles to get through the deserty areas of the Western United States border. Um, it is going to be very profitable for them. Um, and it's so much easier than using planes because planes, well, they're used more through in the Colombian era, from getting drugs around from Colombia. It's just not going to be as effective. Maritime smuggling makes up the smaller percentage of drugs smuggled into the U.S. However, there's going to still be a decent amount using the narco subs, the private boats. So, like, just some guy's boat literally is just you're able to put the drugs in the boat and then smuggle into the U.S. Commercial vessels, um, they're going to put drugs into these containers and put them on cargo ships. But how they're doing it is they're hiding the drugs. And so when someone opens that container, it may just look like a container filled with clothes and boxes, but with inside them is actually a large amount of drugs. All right. And then moving on to this kind of like X-ray of the narco sub. Um, Again, it's not used a lot, but I do want to show that like these are a thing. Because one, I knew about them, but not like a lot. And I find them very interesting. You're not able to put a whole lot of drugs into this, but you're able to put some. Um, don't need a lot of guys operating the submarine. Usually about 4 to 3 guys can operate this, and you're able to go as far from Colombia to the Gulf of Mexico and get onto these states around the coastline. All right, moving on to tunnels. From 2006 to 2015, oh, just realized I spelled 11 wrong. 11 tunnels used by the cartel have been discovered. Um, One tunnel found was nearly 2,000 feet long and 40 feet under the surface. Those were in meters and all that. Change it to American so that everyone can understand. Um, so, yeah. Entrances are cleverly hidden. Like some of these are hidden by pool tables. Like some have under like elevators hidden behind them. Just all kinds of stuff to hide these things. I mean, some of these tunnels are massive. This one's a little smaller that obviously got found out. And again, we don't find a lot of them. Um, is that because a lot don't exist, or is it because we just can't find all of them? It's hard to know. We generally do not know. Um, and that is a big issue for the agencies trying to crack down on the drug smuggling operations. Oh, yeah. Pool tables, electric boxes, and elevators can conceal entry points. All right. Indigenous peoples in the cartel. Funny enough, I actually found out about this information on accident looking for something else, but stumbled upon an article and I found it very interesting because I did not think of the connection between indigenous people and cartels, but there is a massive one, as you will see. Um, Now, indigenous people have been heavily targeted by the cartel. The reason being is in an area known as Golden Triangle, which consists of Sinaloa, Durango, Chihuahua, and Sonora. The Golden Triangle is very good for land. Um, yes, and it is a Sierra Tarahumara, I believe is how you pronounce that. Um, it has great soil and things can grow there very well. Commonly used for corn by the indigenous people. But what else can grow there is marijuana and poppy flowers, I believe. And water poppy is it's how you make heroin. The picture of the Native American woman and her baby, they are harvesting poppy leaves. It is those spherical looking plants with the pretty flower on it. Um, how you harvest it and you can make heroin. Also opium. Heroin is its like I believe more pure form or more stronger form. In 2017, there'd be 52 assassinations of indigenous people because they stood up to the Sinaloa cartel. They said, no, we don't want our land taken away from us. We don't want to participate in your drug operations. And so their reward for standing up was death. Hundreds of forced displacements. So the people who did listen, they would be kicked off their land. Um, the cartel will use indigenous peoples um, for many different things. They would use them for drug trafficking. So the indigenous people of Chihuahua, one of their pastimes was cross country running. They're great runners, and the cartel looked at it and went, "Oh, you're going to be great running for drugs. You're going to run our drugs for us, and that's going to be super cool for us." And that's what they did, or that's what they're forced to do. It would go a little worse. They were required to cultivate whole drug fields, sometimes using the entire native population. So they would kick you off your land and then go, hey, come back to your land to get all our drugs. And then package it. Then sometimes they'd have to smuggle it and the cartel would sell it and that's it. They get profits from it, sometimes they don't. It's really up to whoever's in charge at the time. And unfortunately, many young indigenous boys will join the cartel rather than become their next victim. Um, indigenous people in Mexico are often in more higher are higher. There's a higher percentage in poverty, so they see it as a way out of that poverty. They also see it as a way of, well, if I join the cartel, maybe they won't hurt me, and then maybe I can have a good life. And so you're getting a high percentage of these indigenous people who are feel that they have no other choice than join the cartel because the government doesn't give them enough opportunities, and the cartel is may kill them if they don't join, or or another cartel might. So their thought is, I have a better um, chance of living a decent life if I join. All right, let's move on to the government response. Going on to the pre, what did the pre do? Nothing. The pre really didn't do much. They took a passive response to drug cartels. Excuse me. Often they were accepting bribes from the cartel and looking the other way. It was more of a thing of, you sell your drugs and stay out of business, and we stay out of yours. I mean, yeah, you had instances where they would go back and forth with each other, but they really didn't. And this is a big issue, and they're from the 1980s, 1990s. They're gaining a lot of power, and the pre doesn't really seem to ever even try to curb that power. Moving on to the PAN, they're going to start a drug war. So they do the exact opposite of the pre. Um, the pre lose power in 2000 for the first time, and the PAN sees the cartel as a way to kind of solidify this movement of, we are powerful and we can do something. President Felipe Calderon, he would be president from 2006 to 2012. He is pictured on the right over there. Um, he's going to start a drug war. He would, excuse me, he would start this war on the a war on drugs. By the end of his presidency, he had 45,000 federal troops deployed against cartels. In his first 2 weeks of office, he would deploy 2,000 federal troops, and he would kick off this war. And all it said to the cartels is, now we're at war, and the cartels responded with, well, then we're going to commit violent acts to prove that we can fight your little war, and we're going to fight it more effectively than you. We have more money, we have more power, and we're going to do violent things that you have never imagined. And this is exactly what they do. Um, Cardone, uh, I think he meant well, but God, did he not think ahead? Okay, okay. This, um, I made a meme for you guys. Yeah, let's like let's let you look at that for a second before I move on. Um, Krusty Krab, God. Challenges in dealing with the cartel. Um, the wrestling cartel leaders. These leaders are not going to be easy to capture. Sometimes the police don't truly know who the leaders are. Is it multiple leaders? Is it this guy? Is it that guy? It's not always so black and white. There is a lot of gray. The cartels are extremely violent. They are willing to do what they have to be able to survive, and they're going to do what they want. Um, with or without anyone's permission. They will kill you if they can, and or they, yeah. Anyways, cartels have money. They have so much money. Um, they can afford to pay off politicians. They can afford more members. So yeah, oh sure, go ahead and arrest 100 of my members. I can have 150 by tomorrow, ready to go, trained and ready to smuggle drugs or kill for me. It is a very violent organization. Um, they're willing to do what they have to do to survive, and they're willing to do what they have to do to make money. All right, we're going to stop here for now. Don't look at that. So yeah, we're going to stop here from now. And I will see you in the next one.